From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line on this Thursday, the last live Morning Line before Halloween. Here we've got some different music playing in the background. Ooh. All right. Halloween, I guess, is Sunday, is it not? Mm-hmm. And, in keeping with that observation of the day, we're going to talk a little bit about ghost stories this morning. And in connection, I would think, with some of the local cases, to keep it something interesting for many of you who sit here and join us in Middle Tennessee. Books have been written on hauntings and ghosts, and I don't know about goblins, but it's sometimes fun to talk about whether you really think there's ghosts out there or not. Either way, the study of this is a wonderful way sometimes to get a glimpse at the history of an area, because much of these stories are based on that, and it's fascinating. And I think that's one reason our guest this morning got into these books. He loves the history, and yeah, he can tie it in with a ghost story here or there, and he's written several books, and he's here with us in studio. Allen Sircy, good morning to you, sir.
Thank you. And I can confirm there are no goblins in Tennessee.
No goblins. Okay, I was going to say ghosts. You always hear ghosts and goblins. There may be a few dressed up as goblins this Sunday, but no. So yeah, you deal exclusively with ghost stories, no demons or goblins.
Well, I've got a Frankenstein story from the Franklin book that I kind of researched and just lucked into, but it's mostly ghost stories.
Okay, mostly ghost stories. Well, just so we're clear, tell us a little bit about how many books you've written. I guess you've been writing these ghost type stories, based on the history of the area for what, past 3-4 years?
Yes, sir, something like that. 2019, I believe. 2019.
Before that, he actually managed MMA fighters. You've had an interesting life, my friend.
Yeah, it was a good run.
Doing that and then writing these books. And I'm just curious, the appetite for this type of stuff, especially this time of year, I think is there. What kind of sales? I mean, I know that stuff is there, but I mean, people buy these books, right? Because they like to read about the history of their area and maybe, that hotel's haunted.
It's a niche, and I just kind of embrace that niche. And it's funny, I write these books, and I gave one to a friend of mine, and he said, you tricked my son into reading a history book. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the coolest compliment I got, because, it's not all spooky stuff. There's a lot of history.
Yes.
Murfreesboro, there were 3 Civil War battles in Murfreesboro, and no one really talks about that. Gallatin was occupied. Franklin, they fought a mile from the square. They marched to the square, and the battle was over. The soldiers outnumbered the citizens 4-1 that night.
Huh.
So, Opryland, a haunted theme park, that's like Scooby-Doo kind of stuff right there,
Right. It was fun to read, but you're right, the history part of it. So you're reading these books, not so much necessarily. I mean, would you say your books are scary?
Not necessarily. And from what I've learned, I can count on maybe 4 fingers number of places where something mean's going on. Yeah. It's a lot of mischief. Just they want you to know they're there. And typically, I was telling somebody the other day, if you're there 8 to 5 in like a business or a building that's haunted, they'll leave you alone. Like 7, 8 o'clock, they may start knocking things over, making noises. It's time for you to go. That's when they want the place.
I guess that's the thing. Hollywood and some of the ghost stories. To me, I've always been a Casper guy. Okay, I'm just gonna say, why is it we assume, that ghosts, goblins, and the like are gonna be mean and nasty? Look, if someday I was somehow a ghost, I'd be friendly and chummy, and I wouldn't be out to scare people. Okay, so what is it about? I mean, and the ghost stories that you tell in the book, are ghosts? Is it just that we like because it's the unknown and we're not sure of it? It's scary, but ghosts aren't by definition supposed to be mean.
I think it's a stigma attached. You don't know about it, so you're afraid of it.
Yeah.
And you kind of lean into that. And Hollywood doesn't help because everything's scary and spooky. It's gonna hurt you, but like I said, it's just mischief, and they want you to know they're there, or they want to be left alone.
Okay, and just to clarify, you write these books and the type of research. Now, we know there are other books written, and there are programs on cable television about, the ghost hunters, and they're out there, and they're kind of like the Ghostbusters, and they're sensing, electromagnetic fields that they can't see, and all this kind of crap. Are you out there actually searching to witness and see a ghost, or are you just talking to people who have seen them and kind of talked about the legend maybe of different areas?
All of the above.
You've done it all. You've been out hunting ghosts.
I don't have like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment, but I'll go out there. I have some small pieces of equipment I use, and they're pretty good. I use an EMF detector, which
now, what is that again?
It detects magnetic anomalies, electromagnetic anomalies.
Okay.
I have a digital recorder that kind of records on a different wavelength, and you can pick things up. EVPs.
Okay.
You can pick those up. I have an app called Necrophonic, also Echo Box. It has a sound bank, and supposedly the spirits can communicate through those. There's a app on your phone called the Ghost Radar Legacy you can get for a few bucks. And when I first got it, I thought it was something kind of silly, just a cash grab from a developer. But I've used it. I've had some weird altercations. A friend of mine in Gallatin, I downloaded it up there, and I showed a lady who owned the store. And we're going to walk upstairs, and there's a woman fidgeting with something, and she dropped it. The word dropped appeared on my phone. Really, really weird. So she downloaded it the next day, and she got Devin and Carter while she was upstairs in her shop. Well, she got delivery from Federal Express that morning. Delivery truck driver came in there. Name tag says Devin. So she laughed about it. An hour later, Amazon drops off a package. She said, "Hey, what's your name?" "Carter."
Yeah.
He's like, "How did you know?" She said, "Show me your driver's license." His name was Carter. And the weird thing about it was he was lost. He should have been on South Water, not North Water. So just weird things like that with apps.
But you know what always gets me about that, and you're right, that's interesting. It's kind of like if a ghostly entity was responsible for such a thing, I mean, what the heck? I mean, who cares? Why would they be telling you, you're going to get a delivery from a guy named Carter with FedEx? Why are they wasting their time with crap like that?
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's like, if you're a ghost, it's like, well, I'm going to mess with her, and I'm going to tell her the name of a, delivery driver. Really?
I don't know. I can't explain it.
Right. I guess that's part of it. So, we're going to open up the lines later. If you have questions, or I'd certainly like to hear from you. If you've ever been anywhere where you felt something was haunted, or you felt there was something weird where the door kept opening and closing and you knew it wasn't a breeze. But I think the reason we'd love to have you on is to maybe talk about some of these various stories that jump out at you and share. Where would you like to start? One of the cities here in town, what jumps out? Or maybe one of the more recent ones.
I was talking to someone earlier, Opryland.
Okay, yeah, good.
Back, I guess it was this late 60s, Miss Mary Louise Bransford McGavick, she was the last heiress, the last lady there at the Two Rivers Plantation, and she passed away and left the land at the bottom land by the river to her church, and she wanted to be used as either an orphanage or a hospital. Well, a short time later, they sold it to WSM, built a theme park.
Yeah,
so the employees start seeing an older woman at night in the gazebos, walking around. There's stories of being chased. So I don't know, it's really strange. I started writing these books, and there's a lady at the theme park. They tore the theme park down. Now it's the mall. They've seen her in the mall.
So what did they describe? We're talking about, is it a woman in a gown?
Well, there's two stories. I've heard there's a lady in a white dress, and someone said they've seen her in a black dress. Okay. So it depends on who you talk to, and it could be somebody different, because that's Native American land right there by the river.
Yeah. And when you say they've been spotted, or she's been spotted at the mall, is it at night when a security guard's working, or is it at day and someone looks over and you're getting an orange Julius and she's waiting in line with you?
Well, there's one lady who told me that she was watching her daughter rock climb over by the theater. This rock climbing thing.
Oh, I know exactly. Yeah. It's inside one of the sport goods shops. Yeah.
And she looked over, and there's a lady in a black dress, and she was like looking around, kind of mystified, like, what is she doing? And then she looked over, and she was gone. So that was really strange.
Okay, so I guess the Opryland Hotel. I wonder about various areas. You said maybe, does it matter if it's near, as you said, an Indian burial ground or a cemetery or something like that?
I mean, you don't know. I mean, right there by the river, that's Indian land. They would have lived right there by the rivers where they lived. They would have hunted. The game would have come there to feed, and they could have, hunted deers, elk, whatever was feeding their bison by the river, and that was their land. So they buried there. Yeah. I know Two Rivers. I know one of the McGavick descendants dug up a road over there by the Two Rivers Mansion. I guess it's the 19th century, and he went through Indian mounds, dug up all kinds of Indian remains. So it's just,
it's interesting, as we go to the break, talking about that area, I think about the Hermitage. I used to go down there, I haven't been there in a while, but I used to run through the Hermitage. I enjoy it, home of Andrew Jackson, Tulip Grove, and all of that. And I imagined while I was running there that, this very area, and it's really amazing, it's all been built up since, of course, but that was where Andrew Jackson rode his horse, and before the development, I would imagine, I wonder if, his spirit's out here riding a horse sometimes at night. Have you ever heard anything about the Hermitage?
There's stories. I've heard that there were some ladies back in the 70s or 80s who heard a bunch of weird noises and heard voices. I've talked to a lady who worked on the ground. She told me that over there by Rachel's grave, they would smell cigar smoke from time to time. And supposedly when Mr. Jackson was alive, he would go and sit there and just talk to her grave and smoke a cigar. So that's kind of a neat story.
Oh, that's a great story. Yeah. I'm going to have to check that out. Listen, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll take a a few phone calls. Tom, stay where you are. We'll get to your call and others. If you want to share, if you have a question for him, or if you'd like to share an idea that maybe you would like him to look into, where you think this place may have a haunting of some sorts, or maybe some encounter you've had. Love to hear from you, because it's all about Halloween right now. We'll take a break. Be back with more with our guest, Allen Sircy, right after this.